And I would just like to say on record, I'm an ally. So if they do come down, I'm a supporter. They can take me with them and I will be their friend.
Okay.
All of a sudden I started hearing the theme song from E.T. in my head and I was like, what is happening to me right now?
I'd like to think that in the long run that there will be a positive outcome, even if it's just that we find some sense of unity as a collective, as a human race.
Steven Spielberg has made some of my all-time favorite movies: Jaws, E.T., the original Indiana Jones trilogy, and Jurassic Park, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Hi, I'm Philip in London, and now Spielberg has made a film that is, in a way, the bookend to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. With Disclosure Day, he returns to the topic of aliens, of extraterrestrials. But at its heart, the film is about something much bigger. It's about humanity, about empathy, and about understanding each other. I sat down with the stars of the film, Hewson, Josh O'Connor and Colman Domingo, to talk about why the message of Disclosure Day feels more relevant than ever. This is Quotable. Very good to see this beautiful film. I feel it's the kind of film we need right now. When I watched it, I felt that Spielberg magic. How much do you feel that magic when you're in front of the camera working with him?
Interesting question, because I felt it so much and I grew up obviously watching his movies. He was my introduction to cinema. And there was a moment on set where he was directing me and he was telling me about the footage that I was seeing of these aliens, and I had some sort of out-of-body experience where all of a sudden I started hearing the theme song from E.T. in my head and I was like, what is happening to me right now? But it brought me back to all of the stories that he has told. I realized how special it was to be in this particular film with him, which is a story he's sort of been exploring his whole career.
Science fiction has been with me as long as I've been on this planet.
How about you guys? How is working with Spielberg? Is it magical?
It is, but also I think that I love the fact that most of our set pieces are practical sets. I think you can walk in, you don't have to do too much imagining what's there because it's all there for you. You know what I mean? So that was what's kind of cool. You really feel like you feel lived in and a part of the world. You know, of course, there will be CGI and all the other stuff, but otherwise, he gives you a lot of tools that you can really use and really expand with, which is really beautiful. And you do feel that magic. Also, Steven loves to be right with the actors, with his handheld monitor, and he's just right there with you, so you feel like you're doing it in concert with them, which is beautiful.
I felt like empathy was one of the central ideas of this film that really resonated with me. Josh, I mean, obviously working with Spielberg, probably nobody says no to, but what resonated most with you about this story?
Yeah, I mean, you're right to say that. I think it being Steven is kind of a no-brainer. But I think the biggest thing is, I think we are, as a collective, we're fearful of the unknown, and that there is things we don't understand. And that, you don't have to look up to the stars to see that. That's happening daily, with people who live in the same street as us, let alone in a different universe. So I think that to me was like an important message around understanding, maybe having faith in others. And that's that's a message that isn't new for Steven. Actually, across the board, you look at E.T. or Close Encounters, but also beyond that, I always think about Terminal and how that is so much about communication and understanding and empathy. So it's something I feel like you always look out for in in a Spielberg movie, is that sense of hope, of kind of belief in humanity and the best parts of humanity rather than the slightly more cynical sides.
And are you optimistic that that's how the world would react, without please spoiling anything of the story, but that humanity would be ready for a truth like that?
I think the truth is, and Steven talks really well about this, there are going to be many different reactions. There will be people for whom this is a kind of existential madness for them. Eve's character in the movie talks about how that might affect our relationship to God and faith. You could argue that for some people, it would open up a whole new channel to their relationship to God and faith. And so there will always be different responses. But I'd like to think that in the long run that there would be a positive outcome, even if it's just that we find some sense of unity as a collective, as a human race, that there's some sort of pulling together, knowing that, you know, we've been humbled, knowing that we're not the only, you know, we're not alone on this in this universe.
Do you believe we're alone in this universe, or do you think there is something that...
I do think that there is something out there. I think we are crazy to think that we know everything and that the universe is full of many, many possibilities. And we probably might know some things now. We might find some things out tomorrow or in a year or in 100 years if we're still around. But I love the idea of there being many possibilities in the universe. And I would just like to say on record, I'm an ally. So if they do come down, I'm a supporter. They can take me with them and I will be their friend.
Okay. Colman, another question is, are there truths out there that maybe are too disruptive for the general public? At least that's what people think in the film. Do you think that there might be truths that humanity is not ready for that would be better kept a secret?
Possibly. I don't know. I think if something that affects all of us overall, I feel like it's not a problem for us to know this. But I feel like there's certain things I feel like sometimes you have to parcel out information so that, you know, get people used to it. Like, you know, the idea of a cell phone. You introduce it, and then you get the number 2, number 3, and the updates and all that stuff, and then you're ready for it. But so I feel like sometimes huge world events, I just don't know. I feel like first of all, we have such an issue with what we believe and what we trust right now, because the truth is always tricky right now. So I think that I don't know, to be honest, but I think that there's a possibility.
Josh, when audiences go home from the cinema, what would you like for them to stay with them from this film?
Yeah, I suppose that the message of hope that the film brings, that there's a message of hope and a message of humility that I think to kind of expand your mind beyond what we have here. And at the same time to look around us. I think that's what Stephen does so well. I remember Close Encounters feeling that. The message of Close Encounters is sort of look above, the world, you know, beyond is open to us. But also how does that affect how we relate to each other? And I think Disclosure Day has a similar message.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel because there's plenty more videos. In the meantime, why not check out this one or this one? See you soon here on Quotable.